Welcome everybody to episode 2 of the Northern Star podcast. The what we follow your light podcast that we're calling this.
It's technically
Uh,
episode 1. Sorry, because the first one
what,
was
what?
episode 0.
Oh, you're weird about it. All
It
right,
was a
cool.
pilot.
Uh, welcome to episode 1 of the Follow Your Light podcast, where we, the leaders of Northern Star, will yap about Star Citizen hot topics and answer questions about the org and other miscellaneous things. And I am General Cepheus. I run the place. I deal with a lot of bullshit on a daily basis, and I typically have fun doing it. Joining me today is Akoree, Brigadier General of the U.S. side of Northern Star. Introduce thyself, I guess.
I like Jello.
And he's a snow leopard.
I think you introduced me fine. I'm Brigadier. I'm in charge of mostly U.S. I also am the leader of the squadrons that goes by the name of Ravens, our FPS U.S. squad, where we have a lot of fun.
And finally, joining us today is One Drop, the Colonel of Navy, overseeing anything ship-based within Northern Star, fighters, capitals, everything. If you can fly it, it is under his domain. One Drop, hello.
Hello.
So today, we are recording this on the day before Alpha 4.8 goes live, and today is also the day where we got the relatively unfortunate news. I mean, yesterday was the day when we learned that there is a full wipe coming with 4.8, which was not particularly expected. It is a surprise, but it is not an unwelcome one inherently. However, today we got the addendum to that it includes a wipe of both Reputation and Wicklow ships. I don't think anyone's upset about Wicklow ships, but Reputation hurts. I'll start with Akoree. The 4.8 wipe, the surprise, the good, the bad. How do you feel about it?
Well, okay, so first is I think a wipe was a bit overdue. It's been more than a couple months where the economy has been so fucked, so bloated that it felt kind of pointless to do anything for credits, right? Because like I think everyone had a bunch of credits. We also had the org bank that had so much credits that it felt stupid to go out and grind for any of it because we could just requisition it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that. Less so happy about rep, even though I understand people used dupes to grind some reps. And I'm mostly upset about losing my Ikti because getting the teeth from the Valakar is a bit of an issue. There's always some bugs with that missions. It's really unfortunate. As much as I love it, right? The what's it called again? The storm something mission where you go fight the
Stormbreaker?
Stormbreaker, exactly right. Stormbreaker, where you fight the irradiated Valakar. It's one of my favorite missions in the game, but like it's so broken so often that you spend like hours getting to the end of it, and then sometimes you get no loot whatsoever. So the fact that the ICT requires that to be built, and I'm gonna lose it, that really drives me nuts. But everything else about it, I completely understand, and I think it's the game's going to be in a better state, especially for new players who are going to come around DefenseCon and after.
I agree on all points. One Drop, how you feeling about the wipe that was kind of dumped on us at the last minute?
I think it's well warranted. I mean, it's been overdue for a long time. Like, I'm hoping that they figured out most of the issues occurring with the economy and they're able to track and fix it better with logs. My main concern is where I understand why they're wiping rep, but at the same time, it kind of defacilitates people wanting to go and try and do the event right away because now they have to spend, 500 to 600 missions and nicks to regrind that rep back up to senior to be able to even participate in the event that they're releasing. It's supposed to be like the new big multi-crew / not really multi-crew event.
Yeah. My take on it is, I mean, I'm kind of in line with everyone else. The wipe was well overdue. You know, CIG told us, you know, maybe a month or two ago. Benoit told us that they had no wipe planned, you know, upcoming at all. They were instead going to kind of plan for targeted correction and probably just wipe individual people to kind of clean things up. But I think that the rampant AUEC duping and the billions and trillions of AUEC floating around just kind of spread way further than they had anticipated. And it was kind of the point where almost everybody just had hundreds of millions and they owned every ship in the game and all of that stuff. And so they probably saw no choice other than wiping, doing a full wipe. I think the rep wipe is a bit of a kick in the teeth, considering that a lot of orgs, not the least of which us, have planned TSG operations immediately after, and we put in a lot of hours of effort to grind up our intersec rep before this patch, so that we were ready day one to dive into it. So to have all that kind of wiped away the day before is um, it's a little bit hard to deal with, but I think ultimately this is what the game needed. Especially you guys have said, you know, the new members coming in, the new players to the game, joining in a environment where you message in global chat and you're like, hey, I'm new, how do I enter my ship, and then you just get gifted 500 mil, is not a good environment for an MMO where progression is, you know, money is 80% of your progression. So I'm happy we're keeping blueprints though. That's
Yeah.
one little upside.
I do think like
Uh,
what create also like the spread I think that they didn't anticipate is that player trading really ramped up around the same time that the economy got fucked by all of the dupers, right? Like
yeah,
before that, there wasn't really any reason to trade. And then when we finally had reason to trade, is when some people were like abusing the hell out of the economy. So all of that wealth got spread super, super fast, like wildfire.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Shifting gears a little bit from the wipe, which I think is, you know, kind of bittersweet for everybody. The features of 4.8, the stuff that they're actually adding to the game, which if I pull up the old roadmap, um, there's quite a bit coming. Um, give me bear with me just a moment here. Roadmap. Should have had this pulled up ahead of time. That's my bad. All right. So we're getting quite a bit. They're obviously tactical strike groups is the big headline feature that everyone's kind of talking about and excited for. Um, they're adding refueling missions. They're adding flight suit G-force resistances, hangar triple R, command module functionality to the Caterpillar, and now the Hammerhead. Um, new Wicklow ships. I'm sure people are thrilled about that. The gold standard for the Hammerhead, the crossbow, plasma grenades, some revised FPS weapon art, new hairstyles that I can never tell which ones are the new ones. The transport system rework. It's a handful of exciting new things. Um, Rather than kind of breaking down every feature individually, I feel like we've all kind of talked about that a lot, not on stream, but in general. I kind of want y'all's general feelings on kind of the substance of 4.8 as a patch. All of it together. Does this feel like we're getting, since CIG has shifted to this bi-monthly cycle, do you guys feel like for an update every 2 months, are we still getting a decent cadence of content?
I
Or one drop, go ahead.
think the content is there and available, but I think with some of the stuff they release, like for instance, when they released the content for Rockcracker, a lot of us were expecting it to be a big hot PvP zone or like, expecting large combat, and it was not.
Mhm.
Based on like what they described for their videos and stuff, it was you need this many people, you need a lot of people to go and do it, and we found out it was really you only need about 4 people to really do the whole thing, and you don't have any issues with it. So that kind of puts me on edge for, they said you need several ships to go and do this new event. Is that actually the case, or is it going to be, you bring a bunch of your friends in, or your org in, a mid-sized org, and everyone's just sitting around twiddling their thumbs because there's too many people now?
Yeah, I do think that CIG tends to, I don't know if the wording is quite right, but CIG tends to underestimate the player base and how tenacious they are. Um, I have no idea if it's true or not, but I've heard that you can effectively solo the Mauler flight, the Mauler fight in an Idris. Just solo pilot an Idris K, point the laser at it and sit, and you can beat the Mauler. I don't know if that's true, but it's kind of disappointing if it is. Um,
That would
I
be super disappointing because in lore and in everything they've shown for Squadron 42, it's supposed to be scary because it
right.
cut a javelin in half. And if I'm going to go in there with essentially a 22 to shoot a deer and it's just going to work after enough times, it's going
Yeah.
to it's going to kill the progression instantly for anybody who wants to do that event or do the secondary event where it is to just go find a mauler and fight like you can with ERTs. So it's like,
I think CIG is kind of almost set up in this impossible task where they don't want to make these missions too hard, right? Because if you get 15 good players into a mission and still fail, it's almost difficult, kind of to the point of discouragement where no one's going to want to play it. But if you make it, TSG seems to be balanced from what I haven't played it myself, but from what I've heard, it seems to be balanced around a group of 6 to 10, and a variety of ships, smaller ships. And I feel like they've balanced it that way to where it's a good difficulty balance, and then they run into the issue where there's going to be orgs like us that bring 25, 30 people to this op, and it's too easy. But how do you guys think that CIG could possibly reconcile that, where they want it to be accessible if you don't have a giant org, if you just have a small group of friends, but not making it piss easy if you do have an org?
I
I mean,
mean,
there's
does every content need to be just for giant orgs, right? I or sorry, rather, I meant the opposite. Is every content does it need to always be accessible for those medium orgs, or can we have content that's dedicated for larger fleets, right? And I think this was at least sold to us as something that's targeting larger fleets. I know you're saying it seems to be completable by 6 to 10 players, maybe, but I heard that to be comfortable, like it would be better around 15 to 20, right? Which I think is very reasonable, even for like a medium sized org. If you can get a couple of the members to log in that day, that should be feasible, right? And
Yeah.
I mean,
it's no more than a raid in a lot of MMOs.
Right.
right, but
What
I
up?
think there should, so you got like two options. Either you make it difficult and, if those people who want to do it, you just, get good, give them the old get good strategy, or they need to implement some kind of like skill check. Like, hey, you could do it at X level and these are the rewards you'll get. You could do it at medium level, or you could do it at hard or extremely hard even and get like better tier loot. Because we have like different ore levels now. You could add that into that, like low ore level, going up that route. Just like it is in every MMO. You have like, your low level stuff and your high level stuff. Like they could implement something like that in the future, whether it's a buy-in to do it like it is for some other things, or it's you need X amount of rep to access those.
I do think this bleeds into, I think, a larger issue in Star Citizen, whereas it's very difficult to read what like group size is required for each type of content, right? You like a new player, they're going to see a contract and they have no idea. Maybe they read it and the contract says, "Oh, you should bring in a few friends," right? But they say that about easy ass contract where you have to kill an aurora.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
like I do think that they need a very consistent grading system for mission types. So maybe a colored system where like green is for solo, blue is for small groups, kind of like a dungeon for most MMOs, and maybe red, like a red type mission. Those are the missions where hey, you need at least 10 players to complete those, right? But also Star Citizen being a skill based game and not being statistics driven, unlike most video games that are like multiplayer RPGs. I think that's always going to be very hard to balance, like a lot harder than it would be to just tweak numbers. Because now they have to tweak AI, they have to tweak spawns, they have to tweak the way the mission works if they want to make it more difficult. So it's definitely going to be a very high level of challenge for the balance team in general to make these, especially like the bigger ones like TSG, make those challenging for larger groups of players, I think.
But just from the retrospect of what they think is challenging, adding more ads does not make it more challenging. That just makes it more annoying to do and not as fun. When I think challenging, I think like make the battle cruiser or make the Mauler more intelligent, so to speak. Make its AI systems more intelligent rather than just add 30 more fighters to fight.
Yeah, and an issue is also the servers and the AI and how AI is linked to how well the server performs.
Yeah.
I
Right.
do think dynamic meshing will help a lot with kind of almost it's been suggested by other members of the community like a dynamic difficulty kind of where you use the number of ships, even the health of specific ships, the damage the weapons do, the amount of fighters that spawn, the intelligence of the AI, all of it could be kind of variable depending on the amount that you have in your party. But that seems extremely exploitable and hard to balance properly. I like the idea for kind of a contract difficulty rating system. I feel like CIG could pretty easily adapt something like the current bounties that we have, VLRT all the way to ERT. You have VLRTs that are meant for one person, LRTs for 1 to 2, MRTs for like 2 to 4, HRTs maybe 4 to 6. Um, VHRTs 6 to 10, and then ERTs 10 plus. Could just do something like that. I don't know if they ever will, but it's a kind of a system they already have that they could adapt. I think dynamic difficulty is something that they could take a look at, but that would be so hard to get right.
I don't think a lot of players would like it to be
Dynamic.
variable and dynamic.
Yeah.
No.
Like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to, because it would feel so awkward, right? It's kind of like
Yeah.
when you're playing your first looter shooter and you get a headshot on an enemy and it doesn't kill them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What happens if I bring let's say my Idris, and the event is scaled so high up that a railgun shot doesn't kill and like an arrow? Like,
Yeah.
and like obviously that's like an extreme example of use, like
Sure, but
so
yeah, the
egregious,
principle
right? But
holds.
that's how it would essentially feel like. And also because Star Citizen is a game where players are likely to split up and fight targets separately. Well, suddenly because there's more players, I have to fight some fucking bullet sponges all the time
Mm.
by myself, and it's not fun. So I would
That's what
rather they create activities that are, graded for a certain amount of players rather than make them scale all the time.
agreed,
I
because that's what happens in Vandal Swarm. Once you get past
mm,
wave 40, everything has like Pawnee level health. Like every single
uh,
glaive and stinger, because it goes from like non-named Vanduul to a mid-level named elites with names, elites with bigger names. Like it just keeps scaling, and the targets just keep getting like all the way up to Connie, to the point where you can't even kill them in like a heavy fighter.
yeah. Um, I definitely don't envy CIG in their task to balance really this entire fucking game. What are they, 230, 240 ships or something now? And they have to keep every single one of those balanced every time they make some sort of systemic change. I do not balance the task that they have given themselves
Oh yeah.
doing this.
And like if they wanted to make like some drastic change to a ship, they can only do it to like some very superficial things like their weapons. But
Yeah.
like changing things about how the ship is designed, that takes so much work, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, we're gonna change these skills here and like for your warrior. It's like, nah, we gotta redesign how the wings are like holding the weapons or something like that, and it takes a complete redesign of the entire ship, and it's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely. So as far as features go for 4.8, are there any that are coming in that you guys are excited for? Any
Yeah.
like hell yes things that they're adding? What you got, one drop?
Flight suits were finally getting actual physical working units rather than, the two we have in game that look cool but don't provide much of anything, it seems like. So having the change finally be shown and implemented will be nice, and then adding more of them because one of them you can't buy and the other one you have to go find, and it's a pain in the ass to find the actual suit compared to the helmet.
What do you think about them adding G suit functionality without armor lockers? Do you
Good.
think it's kind of a missed opportunity,
What,
or
to have it in like a locker?
no? So they're adding the G suits, right? They're adding a tangible benefit for you wearing a flight suit, but
Uh-huh.
they're not giving us a practical way to keep other suits in the ship,
They
like in an
really
armor locker.
I get what you're saying. They really just need to go to a loadout system, have because they already talked about for Starware. Once you land on like an area, you'll be able to switch between a civilian loadout and a armor loadout that you wear when you go out. So at that point, I think suit lockers should really just be scrapped and just go to a three loadout system. Having a flight suit if you want one, having an armor set that you like to wear, and having a civilian set to wear when you're on the ground. That's really what I think they should do. I think the suit locker idea, one, it has never worked. It would be cool to be able to be like Minecraft, turn to my left and look at my armor set and be like, that's cool. In this game, it's been there, but you can only imagine it being there because it's never fucking worked. So I think they just need to scrap the idea, especially for like especially for the new Hammerhead redesign. All of the suit lockers for the crew are in the Hammer's head. They're not
Oh,
in the crew quarters. They're at the front of the ship where the docking port is, where the main entry point for hostiles would be. So there's a lot of gripes with a bunch of the placement of suit lockers in every single ship I have. I think they're a stupid idea. They're a cool concept. Beyond that, I don't think they're ever going to be usable because you're going to go up to your suit locker. You have to open the thing. Then you got to drag everything or double click everything to put it on your body. So now we're taking something that should take one click is now a 30 seconds to 1 minute thing before you can go and deal with other people.
it's for transparency, I do believe that when CIG has talked about armor locker functionality, that you will effectively be able to put a suit of armor in the armor locker. So say you got your armor locker in your Intrepid, and you've got a full suit of Artemex armor with an undersuit, a pistol, a rifle, all that stuff in there, and you're wearing your G suit because you're flying around and you're Intrepid. You just walk up to the armor locker, press F, and it will swap. Like it'll put your flight suit in the locker, and you'll be wearing all of your armor in one click. That's effectively what they've talked about it being.
Are they just gonna fuck up and people are gonna lose stuff? I think it's one of those things where you're switching physical items around in a moving vehicle on a moving server. I just
Yeah.
right now I don't think it'll ever work until meshing actually is fully functional. Not like it's in the game. I mean like it's fully functional and there's no like slowdowns and stuff like that.
Yeah. Akoree, how you feel about 4.8's features? Anything that has you hyped for the patch, feature wise?
In terms of features, I think like this patch is stacked with features, right? There's a lot of them that I think are obvious, cool things. One of the things that I think is could be like a sleeper hit is the changes to refueling and refueling missions.
Mhm.
I'm not a big refueler fan. I obviously don't like the Starfarer, right? But
No one likes the Starfare.
like I'm happy that they're going back to that system and trying to improve it because I think it's a stepping stone to making refueling interesting, right? If someone's like, I think some people have been dreaming of being refuelers in this game ever
Oh
since
yeah.
they announced it, because I know it was a thing in Elite, right?
Yep. The fuel rats.
The fuel rats. I know you talked about that, but I think this is a good stepping stone to getting there, to getting like a system where it actually becomes a big risk. Though I'll be honest, right? I feel like there's not a lot of instances where you're likely to run out of fuel, but they need to put planets that are super far away and have no refueling station close, right? Because
Mm.
right now, even if you go in Pyro, well, you're always near a station of some kind, right? Or like a civilian outpost that will let you refuel, even if you're on Terminus, right? Terminus has a ruin station.
Yep.
So, and on the other side of the solar system, you have Pyro 5. Pyro 4 has a bunch of landing pads, and there's also Gaslight, I think, that is close.
Yes.
So, yeah, like it's a big system. It's the one system where, like, I would think people would have ran out of fuel a lot, but they added all of those stations because refueling gameplay wasn't there, right? There wasn't a mission system. Now that there's a mission system and then AI can come and help you, bam. Now you can design a system where it's a possibility that you're gonna go somewhere and then go, oops, I can't come back. And I think that's where it comes into play, and it might be interesting. So it's not something I'm particularly excited for, but I think it's interesting.
I will say I have almost run out of gas more recently in Nyx. Do it like bopping around doing the intersect bounty missions, ship bounty missions. I was bopping around in my F8 and the mission markers in typically when you're flying around, Stanton, Pyro, the missions that you get are kind of in your vicinity. They're always close. They're in the same system, so you're not burning much fuel going around. If you go do them in Nyx, and this may change when they add the actual planets, but I will do missions back and forth to markers that are 60, 70, 90 GM apart. And I can burn almost an entire tank of gas just going from one mission to another. And I have had several instances where I have had to change course and stop at a station along the way to get gas, because if I would have gone straight there and not paid attention, I wouldn't have been able to get to a station from that mission. So I think we're already starting to see it a little bit in Nyx. I think the single biggest issue with it, I think, is that people are definitely doing missions in Nyx and running out of gas. But when they do, they're not going to wait 20 minutes for an org mate to show up in a Starfarer or a Starlight. They're going to backspace and just get back and get their stuff back really quickly and not care. I think that's kind of the biggest problem, is that you can encourage people to refuel all day long, but ultimately the time it takes for someone to get to you to refuel you is so much higher than the time and money cost of just backspacing and claiming everything. It's not worth it.
Well, that's because in Nyx, the way and what you were doing didn't lead to you having something very valuable on your ship
Mhm.
that you really wanted to save. And like, you don't have to wait
Absolutely.
for org mates. You can call an NPC now.
Is that actually working?
As last time I checked, it was, but I haven't looked into it, and I don't think a lot of content creators like went ahead and tested that when there was so many things that were way more exciting,
Sure.
right? But we'll
Because I
have to
heard
see
that
when
too,
it
but I
hits.
haven't seen it. Yeah, I haven't seen it. If they added the ability uh to call an NPC for fuel, that is like badass. That's sick. I heard someone say that, like it was like a Reddit comment, but the reply, like, so they were asking like, how do you do that? And the reply on the comment was just create a marker beacon. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And like there was no further answer on it.
Okay.
Moving on. Um Defense Con. Talk about that for a minute. I do want to get to answering people's questions because there are some good ones. So this year, obviously, they're doing Defense Con, not Invictus. Functionally, they're the same thing. They're different names. It's a change in aesthetic, a change in vibe. Um, the point of Defense Con is, of course, the ships. We are aware of uh, probably all of the new ships they're adding for Defense Con. We don't know. There's a couple surprises in store for Alien Week, I believe, but Defense Con is more or less known unless they decide to pull out a couple more surprises, which would be incredible. But I don't want to take 45 minutes asking both of you your opinions on every individual ship that's releasing. What is your favorite ship that is coming at Invictus? One drop.
Probably the M80.
The Matey? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Just due to the fact, we have the F8 and we have the Stinger. The F8, I would not say is a real competitor to the Stinger because of the armor changes. The only way to pin a heavy fighter is with size 3 or bigger cannons, not repeaters. And the Stinger gets size 4s that are size 4s. Those don't care about heavy armor, they'll just pin it. Whereas the F8 has size 3s and 2s. So it'll be in the M80 comes with 2 5s and 2 4s. So I think it'll be a glass cannon, so it'll probably be around the 6,000 vital pool with like 20,000, probably lower, probably 15,000 shield pool. But it will take over the limelight of the F8 in the damage category. So I think that'll be nice. It also looks really nice. But that's the one I'm the most interested in.
Akoree, what is your most anticipated ship out of the new ones that have been announced? We're not counting the Ironclad, but the new ships that have been announced that are going straight to flyable.
The Ironclad. Honestly, it's probably a Tiburon, right? Because I think I've always kind of liked the atmosphere of the Hammerhead, and I went to try out like the gold standard and the PTO, and it's just I don't know what's about it. I can't even like describe it. I think it's like that feeling of being in a submarine or something. That
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like it definitely gives me that vibe, and I really like it. And the idea of having that plus a big freaking laser on its freaking head, and being able to like I know it's cringe, right? But being able to use that big ship in a solo environment to me is very appealing because I love my Perseus, but I can never take my Perseus out by myself. There's nothing I can do with it, right? If I take this out, yeah, I miss out on maybe like some cool multi crew, which I'm assuming it's gonna have a lot of multi crew. It has turrets, right? But
It's I believe it's got 2 turrets at least.
yeah,
There could be more.
so
Just 4.
yeah,
4?
and like as much as like the Perseus has this perfect gunboat vibe, right? I would really like to have a big ship that I can also effectively solo a bit for PvE, right? For PvE purposes. I don't want to be like a solo. I think like a solo pilot of an Idris in PvP is kind of cringe. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
if you make the ship a lot smaller and also has no PDCs and it's pretty much defenseless if someone gets behind it, I think it's a very fair balance, right? If you're in front of it, you're going to have a bad day. But if you're able to get behind it, it shouldn't be really able to get the advantage back on you. And that's where like the Idris, like because it has PDCs, because it has like such a high health pool, it's basically like a completely unbalanced fight. You cannot fight back against it. Well, I'm saying that knowing that some people can, right? But I feel like it's a much more balanced fight with a Tiburon. That's why I like it more as a concept. And I also think it's going to be just very pleasant to go around with it, zap a few PvE targets, and just have a good time, relaxed.
It definitely feels like it's Aegis's answer to the Perseus, where it's almost the offensive version of the Hammerhead, where the Hammerhead is more defense. and game state notwithstanding that it is not good at defense, but the intent is that it's a fighter screen. The Tiburon is definitely oriented as a larger ship attack kind of boat. Yeah. My favorite ship that's coming new is the pit boat. No, I'm kidding. It's the M80. Um,
About to
I
see
think
fucking weirdo.
I think all of the ships that are coming look like good, worthwhile additions to the verse. Um, the M80 is definitely the one that I think is going to be my new daily driver. Just it looks beautiful. I love the style of it. 2 size 4s and 2 size 5s is a kick-ass weapons complement. And it looks good. I one of my first pledge ships was the 300i and eventually a 325A. And having that, but a bit bigger, a bit higher gunned, still with an interior, I am buying that ship the moment that it drops, and I will be using it a lot. Obviously, everyone's excited for the Ironclads. I feel like everyone's excited for the Ironclads. Talking about that at length is just beating a ironclad, and it is, yeah. I don't feel like we need to talk about ironclads. Aside from that, the assault's vertical launch tubes are sick.
They both get them.
They both get them.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now on one
I
of the
thought it was
websites
just
they
the
follow.
assault.
No, let me pull it up again. Ironclad. You get 5. You get 10 size 5 torque launchers, missile launchers, and that fits with the theme of both ships in the same spot. As well
Fair
as
enough.
you get about 400,000 shield health. You get
No.
4 shields at size 3, which is ridiculous.
That does work then. Cool. Because I activated my CCU chain. I have a regular ironclad now. I did not
Heck
bother
yeah.
getting the assault. It's a bit too much more expensive for. I personally feel that the base ironclad and its extra cargo serves my personal use case a little bit better. I envision using that ship for cargo a lot more often than I would cram it full of fighters or use it in a combat scenario. I've got an Idris for that. So yeah. Sweet. So out of our kind of pre-planned topics before we get into the Q&A, 4.8's wipe, the features, defense con, new ships, all that stuff. Is there anything that you guys feel is worth talking about before we jump into the Q&A and answer community questions?
No. Not off the top of my head.
I think there's a lot we could talk about, but I really wanna jump into the Q&A.
Sounds good. We'll do that then. So the Q&A, we have for all the members that are in Discord right now. Unfortunately, this doesn't count for the people that are watching this on YouTube later, but those of you that are in the Discord channel with us right now, there is a thread attached to Member General. We've added the link into the chat here several times. You are absolutely encouraged to post questions that you would like us to answer. We are doing questions regarding the hot topics of Star Citizen, stuff that we just talked about, as well as Northern Star, the org, questions about us, our plans, structure, really whatever you want to know about, you can you can ask about in there. But going top to bottom, and going over these questions, I'll go ahead and start with Guinea Pig asked, how do we feel about turrets after the bullet speed nerf? Seen footage of people trying to shoot fighters, being on target, and just missing. Is that a skill issue or balance? How do y'all feel about the reduction in velocities?
I think it's a bad idea.
Are we
'Cause
talking
it just
about?
gives-
Sorry, are we talking about current patch or 4.8?
4.8.
4.8.
Current patch is super easy to hit. 4.8, you need to switch between your gimbaling to figure out which is going to ping better to the target, because you have 2 different versions. You have the old version from like 320 all the way to 4.1, where you had the pip you could follow. And then they got rid of that for all the capital ships and put in the auto aim feature because people are bad at aiming. And now you have auto aim, which for anyone who is a decent pilot or understands how ESP tracking system works for pilots, the system that helps you track targets in the game with your radar, there's ways to confuse it so that you won't get hit. And you can also dodge ammunition in the middle of a fight pretty easily now with what they've done with light fighters and tuned them and everything else. I realistically, it really depends on, because I haven't practiced or seen it yet, so I can't like attest to it. But just based on that, it sounds like it's a both. It sounds like people need to spend more time shooting at actual players and not NPCs, because shooting an NPC is like taking a sledgehammer to an apple. It's not hard to do. A lot of people are so used to not having to deal with a lot of PvP because, most pirates just ask and then people give it away or they just get shot down because they can't fly away.
Yeah. Akoree, do you have any thoughts on it?
Honestly, I haven't followed where the meta is right now. I know there's been like a ton of changes over the PTU patches on 4.8, so I can't really comment about how it is right now.
Fair enough. Next up, so Gorilla asked a bunch of actually kind of pretty good questions. First up is he asked, how is Northern Star prepping for the release of Squadron 42 and the subsequent CIG pivot to 1.0's release? Will we be ready? Do we think that our current position in the verse would suffice? If not, what do we want to see implemented in Oregon in game in preparation for 1.0? I think that boils down to Star Citizen. Once Squadron drops, Star Citizen is probably going to accelerate in terms of its development. Are we ready as an org to keep up? Akoree, what do you think?
So far, yes. Honestly, we like. If you had asked me that question a year ago, I would have said, no, I'm not sure." But right now, as we stand, we have such a solid skeleton of and by skeleton I don't mean there's not a lot, but I mean like it's solid. It's a solid structure,
A framework.
a solid framework, right, of command that I think we could grow exponentially and would still be fine, because we have some very good people that have taken charge of a lot of different things, and I think we just need the new players to join, and we'll be able to welcome them and service them as best we can. I do think that we'll probably enter into an issue where we have so many people that want to run operations and events at the same time that there might be some issues, but I think that's a good problem to have, right? That there's like too much activity.
Yeah.
But I do think we're solid. I do think we're golden. Like obviously, I'm in charge of marketing, and I'm accelerating marketing as much as I can right now, to make sure that we're visible, so that people will know we're here and they know where we're about, and they know that this is going to be the best org when Star Citizen releases.
Oh, yeah, we got another marketing question here in a little bit, but so yeah, I think that we as command here, we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that not everybody sees and not everybody gets to appreciate right now. But I think if we get some sort of big growth spurt at either this Invictus or later this year during IAE, during the launch of Squadron, I think that people are going to probably have an appreciation for kind of the steps we're taking now to lay a really good foundation for the org when this place, fingers crossed, does not become enshittified if we explode in numbers. Because I've seen it happen to several orgs, and a lot of what I do on the day to day is figuring out the best ways to prevent that from happening. And it's scary at a lot of points, but I think that we've really done a good job at setting up this org for growth and for success in our future. while still keeping it fun and engaging at the scale that we're currently at. And that's a harder line to follow than I think a lot of people realize. But I think we've done a good job so far. So, did you have anything you wanted to add to that one drop? I think the next question is really aimed towards you.
What was it again? Sorry.
Um, how are we prepping the org, and what are we doing for the kind of expansion, the rapid progression of Star Citizen, and probably the size of the org, following Squadron 42's release, and then CIG's full pivot to 1.0.
I would say that's more a YouTube question than my question. I think
Well,
we're
that
doing okay. There's probably a couple things, in the future we will have to tackle, but as right now, I don't see any super large major issues, I'd say. It's been a couple days since I've really dove into any of those subjects. I've been kind of taking a break from that side of things for a little bit.
Yeah. This next question is much more for you, One Drop. How do we, as an org, prepare for updates that involve events such as tactical strike groups or like Rock Cracker? Like, what's our typical thought process when we're planning what we're going to be doing for the big group events?
Usually somebody of that origin of work line or the game loop will bring up the question, and then them and another person or two will spearhead the brainstorming on it and figure out what's needed, um, and go from there. I.e., for this event coming up, and I didn't get to go. I didn't get to go into this blind, unfortunately, because I was setting up the event. So I had to go through and read all of the spoilers and everything that came out about it. So I'm not going to be as like ooh and ah when we do the event, unfortunately, like I want to be. But normally it's like a 3 to 4 week process, and it usually starts with us looking into it, seeing what it's going to be like from we first hear about it, the concept of it back in when Civcom they released stuff about it. I was like, cool, I'm going to start running some operations that are going to get some of us prepped. And as that's gotten closer, I've ramped it up significantly. We've had a sit down with all of our command staff who are interested in running this event or assisting in running it. We've brainstormed ideas based via the script that's available, and we are going when we go into it. Those of us who knows what is going to happen, we aren't going to say anything to everyone else because we are setting this up to have the most engagement from everybody, so they are able to have fun and enjoy the event. That's the whole purpose of me setting it up, is so that we can have a bunch of people come out, have a really good time, and want to do it again, even after learning everything going through it. The first time is always the best time, um, even with all the learning curves that are going to come with it. That's one of the harder things to do, is sit down and have those longer conversations and fleshing out what's what and how we're not going to release spoilers to people while we're in the midst of doing these events. So it takes a little while, and then the day of setup for the event, that takes usually about an hour or two, either a full day of setup beforehand, or it takes just a couple hours to get set up beforehand before we run the event, giving people a good time to show up and enjoy everything we have set.
Good shit. Yeah, I think a lot of folks don't really get to appreciate um, all the work we do behind the scenes, because a lot of it stays behind the scenes. They just see the op that happens, that runs a lot better typically than it would have had we not done so much preparation. Um, but yeah, we put in a lot of work behind the scenes to make fun and engaging events for you guys. And it typically pans out, which is always super gratifying and satisfying to see. This one's for you, Akoree. What is NS's approach to marketing the org? Are we following any trends currently or doing anything like that?
Oh, trends. I think we're actually kind of setting trends, but nah, that would be presumptuous. I try to figure out what would be the best, right? And also what we can do. I try to aim for high quality marketing whenever possible, but I realize that having a lot of quantity would also help. So we're trying to figure out if we can also get a lot more smaller stuff, things that don't require a lot of editing or a lot of time. that we could do to just post more, because the idea is, like I said, we try to be out there, right? We want our name to be known a bit. So we got Reddit, I think, locked down. I think now it's working super well. We got a bunch of really good recruits from the Reddit post. I did a bunch of GIFs that I'm using for it,
Those
and I
are
think,
super cool.
yeah, I'm really happy with them. I think it really draws the attention more than some of the static images. So I'm really happy with that. In terms of videos, I'm blessed with having like Dark Aether and Eidolon helping out with both like the music and also the voice acting. I think that really elevates our videos above a lot what of other orgs are doing. But I think other orgs that are performing really well, they're also posting very regularly, and they often have like a face to their org. They have someone who's basically a content creator or a streamer, which I mean, a streamer's a content creator as well, right? But they have someone who's creating content all the time and that is putting their org out there continuously, right? I can't commit to that, and we don't have anyone in the org right now. I feel like that wants to do that. I really hope that we get to find either a new member or maybe an older member that finds it uh, interesting and that wants to get into it. I really hope we get someone that ends up just generating like weekly content, maybe streams, stuff like that, and that will really help like like propagate Northern Star outside of us. Because I think like people, they see our videos, they love our vibe, they like where we're going. I think they see that we have a lot of structure. They enjoy that, but that also we're a very fun bunch that have like so many great members that are super fun to play with. I think like when people see that, they get immediately hooked. They join in, and then they can jump in a voice chat. There's a bunch of nice people over there, and they immediately connect with the community. And I think that pipeline in general has been working super well.
I agree. I think we've been seeing really good success from the current marketing strategies that we have. Anybody who's spent an extended period of time talking to me knows that my general preference with our growth strategy is slow and steady. I don't want to just explosively grow. I feel like we could handle a decently sized growth spurt at this point, as we talked about prior, but I'm definitely not trying to go from 300 to 1,000 members in a month. Um, and I feel like our current strategy is serving that goal like spot on perfect. And we kind of currently plan and intend to have about 2 growth spurts a year, right around Invictus and IAE or SitCon, but this year there is no SitCon. And I feel like that strategy so far has served us really, really well. And it's overall doing really well. And honestly, I can't thank anybody more than I can thank Akoree for making that happen. Um, last one, no, second to last one from Gorilla. Um, what is something? I think this is both of you can answer this. What is something that NS does that you guys think should be introduced, like that other orgs should start doing?
What do you mean?
What do we do that other orgs don't that you think they should?
Not plague themselves with a bunch of people all at once. They kill their culture faster than they kill their culture faster than they're able to keep up with their growth.
All right, simple answer, Corey.
I think that's right. Also, I think they're not building a community. We're building a community. A lot of them, they just play Star Citizen and then they don't connect elsewhere. We have so many people who meet through Northern Star, and then they end up playing the next hype game together, and then they come back to play Star Citizen as well. But I do think that is our biggest strength. And like, I literally do not know how we did it. It just happened.
Um, yeah, I think that no discussion in the questions channel, please.
Yep, I realized what it was after.
Thank you. I only let Momo stay because I deleted his question because I thought he was yapping, but he was actually asking a question. Anyway,
Uh,
hi Momo, I'll answer it. Don't worry. Um, I think that the community aspect is really the big thing. We a lot of the newer members of this org would have absolutely no idea, but back in the day, Northern Star was founded with two generals. It was me and another guy who went by Archangel, and initially we were just a Star Citizen org. It was just Star Citizen, no other games. And there kind of came a point where there were a lot like Star Citizen was maybe having a bad patch. People were losing interest in the game for a little bit. We all knew it would come back, but it was kind of waning. And we were faced with the decision of, do we open up a section of the Discord for other games, or do we keep it kind of locked down to just Star Citizen? And there was a lot of discussion that happened around that question, is like, do we keep it just Star Citizen, or do we let it kind of branch out a little bit? And I think the ultimate decision that we made to open the ability for people to talk about and play other games here and properly support that is really a lot of what helped create such a tight knit culture that we have here, and then the community aspect, like Akoree said. It almost didn't happen at a few times. We were almost like, no, we're just for Star Citizen. Other people can join other communities for those games. But I feel like that would have really hurt us and the community that we've built. And we're obviously Star Citizen first as an organization. Northern Star is a Star Citizen group, but for people that don't feel like playing Star Citizen today, or have a bad patch and their favorite game loop is broken, if you want to play something else, we've got roles and channels for that. And we encourage people to do that. And I think one of my favorite things that started happening more and more recently is people have been just having like movie nights in the Discord. Gorilla has been really kind of pushing that, and just hanging out in VC for a few hours in the afternoon, and just streaming a movie and just chilling. Like the fact that people choose to spend their time in this Discord server and they're not even playing Star Citizen, and they just like the community and they like the company. That is one of my favorite things, and one of the things that I am most proud of with this org is that people choose to be here even when they're not in the game. And I never ever want to lose that. Next and final question from Gorilla. Do you guys see CIG's current method of monetization, being them releasing ships every year, the monthly bundles, stuff like that, is helping the game or is causing complications for the future? Do you think it's setting up for trouble, or is it good?
um, I like the monthly bundles, but I would like them to separate them out. Like let's say, the Deadlock pack. The Deadlock armor is cool. Or the Elysium pack. The armor is cool. I don't care for the ships at all.
Hmm.
Like you should be able to split that off and, spend what you want to spend your money on. So like let's say I just want the gun that comes with the pack for like Deadlock, it's the lightning gun. I can't think of the name of it all of a sudden. Yeah, the parallax. Let's say you just want that. You should be able to spend, $3 for whatever the monetized value of it is from that pack. And the next time the pack's on sale, you if you want to buy the full thing, you can spend to buy the full thing, or you should be able to monetize it into, the subcategories of that particular thing. Like the Golden Blossom pack. I like that pack. I like all of it. I don't particularly want the Ares part of it, but it's part of it, and mainly because the Ares ships are the Ares heavy fighters in a super weird spot where they don't really belong in the game anymore, and they got released in too early. So it's kind of one of those things where I would love to have the Zenith rifle and the armor, but I don't want the ship. So I feel like if they were to monetize it better, they would see more value out of it long term, rather than you have to buy the whole thing and get a ship paint you don't want.
Yeah, I think it's pros and cons for sure. Corey, how do you feel about CIG's current monetization strategies?
I'll be honest, I think it's too late for them to have a good external image, right? Like as soon as they started releasing ships that were super expensive, I think people's view of how CIG monetized things was always going to be negative, right? That being said, I think right now it's working out. I think it's probably the best way they've been able to make money and continue funding the game because thankfully all of the little things add up to making a huge amount of money, which is what's required to create not one but two games at once and like continue to fund the development for a huge studio. So I'm of the opinion that it works against them in the terms of public opinion, but it somehow ended up working, right? Somehow the guys who are interested in Star Citizen have money to spare and they want to spend it on this game. So it's working out. I do think the issue comes for what did they do once 1.0 releases and they've already said they wanted to not sell ships, right? What happens then? Because that's the best method of funding that they have right now. If they get rid of that, and I don't want to defend it, but if they get rid of that, suddenly that's a lot of money that's gone away. So how are they going to work around that? I think they might need to work. They'll need to introduce the notion of expansions, meaning that maybe every year, right? Every year there's going to be an expansion. The expansion is going to give you ships, right? Maybe one ship, maybe two ships. And then it's going to come with access to either new features or new systems. And you can only access those if you have the expansions. And maybe a few expansions down the line, they can do like Final Fantasy, where like the old content starts becoming free, right? Or it comes like part of the main package or something. I think that's going to be their best bet at maintaining an audience and maintaining the flow of money to keep on funding the game and introducing more and more stuff to it.
I've actually got quite a lot to say on this front here. As far as I'm aware, right? You know, CIG has said that they want to stop selling ships after 1.0, all of that stuff. My current opinion of what they should do, which obviously, if I were to take a guess at what the most likely course of action that CIG is going to take after 1.0 is I'm assuming nothing will change. That they're going to keep developing new ships, selling them. They'll keep with the monthly bundles. They'll keep doing everything more or less as they are precisely right now. That is what I am assuming will happen. What I would prefer for them to do instead, my kind of personal best case scenario is that 1.0 hits. They then stop selling any ship that is not a starter. So you can buy your small selection of starter ships, you know, your Arrow or Pisces, all the way up to like a Cutlass Black or a Freelancer. It can top out there. And then you still get your two big ship sales of the year, Invictus and IAE. I don't think those are going to go anywhere. And then also when they introduce a new ship, they can sell it. So basically just take all of the current ships that you can buy all year round and just cut it down to the starters. I think that would be my best case scenario, and then keep selling the monthly bundles. Those I know bring CIG a lot of traffic. Is do the monthly bundles, new ships, IAE, Invictus, and starters. That's what I would prefer. My personal, I see what you mean by expansions. I personally really hope they don't do that because we've seen it in a lot of other MMOs. Is expansions like that gate systems or gameplay divides the player base really, really fast and really, really badly. One of the best things and one of my favorite kind of talking points when people talk about how expensive ships are is that if you want to enjoy an Idris, you don't need to own an Idris. It's like how the saying goes, like, what's better than owning a boat? It's having a friend that owns a boat.
Owning two
You
boats.
know, but but you know, you don't need to buy an Idris. You can come fly on mine, right? Um, that goes away if you add expansions to systems. It's like, hey, we're gonna go do a mission in Banshee, the new expansion system that just came out. And then there's like half the group is like, man, I haven't bought that one yet. And it's like, well, shit,
I
that
mean,
just kind of sucks, right?
they
Um,
do always have the option, like, with a few games on Steam where as long as your like friend who you're partied with, if they're in charge of it, you would play with them and they would drag you through, but I think that would just cause more problems. Never mind. It sounded good in my
right.
head, then I spoke it, like lots
Sure,
of things I
sure.
do.
I do agree that it's a system that works if your game is extremely popular. Like, let's say World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, right?
Mhm.
They're highly successful games, so whenever an expansion comes out, it's a given that everyone's going to buy it, right? If your
Right.
game is in a hard straight, it becomes a bit harder to onboard new players because they feel like they have to buy like too many things. They have to buy the base game, they have to buy like maybe the base package, and they also have to buy the expansions. And that can drive people away, right?
Yeah.
But we'll have to
I
see. I don't want them to, like Prophet mentioned, you mentioned the sub. I hope Star Citizen doesn't have a sub model. I really don't think it could support it.
I honestly think CIG makes enough money off starters, Invictus, and IAE and patch bundles that they will be able to sustain the game indefinitely. If they just take every other ship off, don't sell a ship that doesn't have a starter pack attached. If you go on the web store and you just search starter, game packages, cut the market down to that and patch bundles, except for the two big ship sales of the year.
I don't think so. I don't think
I
they'll be
think
able to
they would
sustain it.
make I think they would make plenty of money doing that because there's going to be a lot more people just buying the game when it's 1.0.
Yeah, but
And
we're gonna reach a plateau, right? We're gonna reach a plateau. The game community is going to stabilize, and at that point, they need to have people continue like putting money towards it because it's not a small studio. If it was a smaller studio, it would be completely feasible. But CIG is so big now, like paying 1,000 employees, you can't do that with just monthly pack, right? You
sure,
can't do that with just starter ship sales because starter ship sales are just for new players, right? Unless you have like somehow an infinite growth of the game, which won't happen. Those starter packs eventually they're going to stop making money. And like obviously like the dream is, well, the game's free to play and everyone can enjoy it, right? That would obviously that'd be great. But if they did that and there was no money income, then they wouldn't be continuing development. And I think all of us want to see it go through to 1.0 and then continue growing for literally forever, right?
yeah, and I'm not suggesting that CIG go free to play. I don't think they should ever do that. But just starter packs for game packages, monthly bundles, and because they're good enough. CIG's team is good enough at making like compelling content in those monthly bundles that I think enough people will buy them to sustain them. And then the two big ship sales bring in almost more money than the rest of the year combined. Like they bring in so much money. And I'm assuming that development costs of the game are going to decrease substantially when the game is past 1.0 because then it's just kind of continuing development. It's not an alpha.
What?
Um,
That's not how it works. Like you still have the same amount of employees to pay.
I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't downsize quite a bit
I do think
after
that
1.0.
like between the break of Star Citizen 1.0 releasing and the next Squadron game, I think it will be required for them to downsize, and I hope they go at it in an ethical way where they give their employees a lot of time to think about it and turn around. But hopefully those employees will keep on working as well. I know that's like the manager fear is that if you give them too big of a heads up, they'll stop working, right? I hope CIG has enough faith in their employees that they won't do that, and that they'll give them like maybe a year of heads up or something.
I do think I do honestly think that the most likely thing that they're going to do is just keep selling ships precisely as they are right now.
Oh yeah,
I think the course that they're on right now, they're just simply going to keep going and do that as long as it keeps paying the bills,
It's
which it's getting better every year. So
it's also a possibility. I do think that the upgrade system is the most genius move they've ever done. Right? Because
the CCUs,
yeah, the CCUs, like you can say that, man, paying like 100, 200, 300, $400 for a ship, that feels bad. But yeah,
right?
upgrading my starter package, upgrading it again, and then again, every 1 or 2 months, that doesn't feel as bad, right?
Yeah.
But also, like at that point in 1.0, though, like most ships are going to be available in game. Like I don't think a lot of people will be frustrated or as frustrated about ships being buyable. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how they go about it, or like if they change their minds or not.
I think they've got a large number of options for how they could handle it. We'll just have to see. But I'm going to move on so that we can answer all the questions. I'm aiming to have this done in 38 minutes or less. But I'm going to move on. So Panda asks, do you think CIG made a good call doing a wipe before 4.8 or 4.8, even though there, he says might be, but I'm going to say are still dupes out there that could make the economy go back to how it was? I'm going to answer this right off the bat because one, I want to save time, and two, I think the others either agree or don't know, and they can pitch in afterwards if they want to. But my personal theory is that CIG is wiping for 4.8, even though there's at least one confirmed open exploit out, is so that they can reset the economy, fix it to how it should be, and then they've got much better monitoring and tracking systems now than they had originally. And the people that abuse exploits post this wipe are going to get banned. That is my personal theory. Is they're like, all right, fair enough, the economy's fucked. If you partook, whatever, man, that's an L on us. They're wiping it and fixing most of the issues now. They're leaving a couple open, and it's effectively just bait. The people that take the bait are going to get banned.
It's a honeypot.
Yeah. One drop in Akoree. Do you have anything to add to that, or you just kind of nod?
I agree.
Cool.
I think
so
I hope the same. Right. I hope. The
Yeah,
same.
right. Yeah. No, we could be wrong about this, but that's my personal hope. So my advice to anybody is yes, there is at least one exploit confirmed to be working in PTU. No, I don't know how it works, but I would encourage you, even if you know how it works, if you want to test it, report it on the issue council, and then do not do it again. Because if I were to hedge a guess, CIG is paying very close attention, and if you get banned, having access to the game is a condition of membership for Northern Star. That's all I'm saying. And breaking CIG TOS is breaking NS TOS. Zolar Eclipse asks, this ought to be a fun one. What is your biggest grievance with CIG as a company? Akoree. One drop.
Let's say and didn't go first. Damn it. They just too many pitfalls, too many changes continuously. Like really good examples, the flight model. We've had a bunch of them, and I know what's his bucket. I can't think of his name all of a sudden. He can't make up his mind on a flight model, and it's frustrating. Yeah, Yogi can't figure out what he wants to do. We've had 3 different ones at this point. Mesh them all together and let the players figure it out and take in not just the people who stream and stuff, but everyone's thoughts on it and go from there. Like I'm used to the new flight model. I like it. Is it the best one? No, but beyond that, give us more. Like after everything said and done, we have enough human ships. Let's work on something else. Get rid of the fucking alien tax. Like owning a glaive, it's $375. It's one of the most expensive heavy ships in the game in the fighter category.
It's a medium fighter.
It's a medium fighter.
Yeah.
It's dog shit for everything it does. I want to see its facelift. I want to see a weapon change. I want to see a whole rework of everything on it because it just feels like we're selling stingers for less than what it's worth. for a glaive. A glaive should be like 200 $200, maybe 210. And 375 just it's not worth anything worth like to get. And like alien taxis to go away, work on their ships. I want to see more Tavaran ships, um, and Xi'an ships. And yeah, those are the only two they haven't done. I want to see some, old tech from the Zon when they were around, like as something we can explore in the future. There's a bunch of stuff they could do with that, and they haven't touched on it at all.
All right. Akoree.
The reason why I'm having a trouble answering is that CIG doesn't do anything that makes me particularly mad, even if I have some gripes with a lot of the things that they do or how they do it. But the way I see it is that, oh, they're gonna make a mistake this time, they're gonna fix it, and then like it's just because the game's not released, I don't take it to heart too much. I do agree that the alien tax is fucking dumb. Like I never I like when they started thinking about it, I'm assuming that in their head the alien tax was because making alien ships was so much more complex than human ships. But like I don't feel like that's true. Like I don't feel like any of the alien ships are really especially more complex than the human ones. And what sucks is that most of them are really not that good. And maybe the best one is the Prowler utility. I
And that
like
one's not even that high priced either. That one's almost reasonable.
yeah,
Hmm.
right. And like, but it's just so fucking good, right? But like, yeah, I don't know, man. I know that they mismanage a lot of stuff, but when I feel like they mismanage something, I don't buy it or I don't give them money for it. So
Not as
that's
bad as Ashes of Creation.
yeah, no, it's definitely not as bad as Ashes of Creation. And CIG is super transparent about a lot of stuff, and they admit when they make a mistake. And to me, like that gets my goodwill, right? So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be mad about them about like a mistake or not because I know they're gonna try to fix it or I know they're gonna try to be better at it. Yeah, that's basically it. Like I don't have anything specific that really grinds my gears.
Yeah. Um, I think my answer is largely the same as that. I think CIG is, we kind of have to take a lot of what they do and almost try to it sounds weird with a company as big as they have gotten, but almost kind of try to see things from their perspective. In that a lot of us are very passionate about this game. A lot of us have a lot of money invested into this game. And I know a lot of people kind of tend to take every poor decision that CIG makes as like a personal insult. And I feel like that's a mistake. And that when you are trying to do something, create a game with the complexity and the scale of Star Citizen, it is like building this game is not a task I would wish on my worst enemy because it is like impossible. Like there's a reason nobody builds a game like Star Citizen except for Chris Roberts because he is the only person with the means and the craziness required to do it, to pull it off. And I think they've been tremendously successful in doing so. Do they make missteps occasionally? Yes. The flight blades was kind of a big controversy that I think was kind of a big misstep. I hope they never sell components or anything like that on the market. They kind of dabbled in that with the 300 series and their customization. They have not touched it since. I feel like CIG, their marketing is genius level in how they toe the line. If the monthly bundles were just a little more expensive or a little more egregious, people would be really pissed off about them. But I've bought almost all of them and I am happy about it. And I know they're doing something right, because like I'm like, oh yeah, click and just do it. And but if they were releasing it every 2 weeks, or they were making it so that you couldn't melt them, I don't really like that they're war bond only, but I get why they're war bond because people would just take the same 30 books and just cycle through all of them as they come out. Like I get it, right? A lot of the things CIG does, you can kind of look at it and go, yeah, that makes sense. I do wish if I had one thing I wish they would do is I wish they would be a little bit more transparent on their intentions when it comes to balancing. like turrets. The hammerhead is almost useless against fighters. The point of the ship is to screen fighters. What are they doing there? Like, I'd like to know kind of stuff like that. Like a couple heavy fighters can kill an Idris right now, when an Idris should be terrifying to any fleet that does not contain either an Idris or an overwhelming amount of ships. And it's just simply not the case right now. And I know that's not the state, like intellectually, I know that's not the state that CIG wants the game to be in, but it's where it is. And I want to know like where their ideal circumstance is. And, you know, they've talked about, at a CitizenCon past, they talked about, you know, they want fighting a capital ship to be like this multi-layer boss battle where you strip down the shields, you disable the PDCs, you damage the components, the thrusters, you board it, you take over it, you self-destruct it, you take what's on it, whatever. They've talked about that. That was like a year and a half ago. It has been radio silent since. And I just wish they would do it a little bit more. The next 3 questions from Zoe are all, in my opinion, they have pretty straightforward answers. So I'm just going to kind of answer them, and I'll give you all a moment to pitch in feedback if you would like. But I'm trying to be cognizant of time here and also answer all of the questions. So Ziller Clips asks, what do you think CIG should prioritize in development after Squadron 42 releases and the team is focused on Star Citizen? Chris Roberts actually talked about this recently on an interview. And he said that after Squadron releases, a lot of people were worried after Squadron would release that they would just immediately focus on Squadron 42 Part 2 and not pivot to Star Citizen. CR dismissed that. He said, after Squadron releases, it is all hands on deck for Star Citizen, and they are pushing for 1.0. I hope that they prioritize org features if they're not already in by Squadron's release. We need social tools and org features desperately, please. So yeah, I think they should prioritize kind of social tools. This is an MMO and it's missing a lot of the MM part. So I want them to focus on that a little bit more. Anything for you to that?
No.
Cool. Akoree? You said no? Okay. And then Zoe also asks, why do so many people think Star Citizen is a scam? And I have a simple answer for that as well. I think that the present perception that some people hold about Star Citizen being a scam is simply a legacy opinion. They read an article about Star Citizen in 2018 and they never bothered to like think about it critically again. Because back in the early 3 point whatevers or the 2 point whatevers, in late stage 2.7.3, I think it was in Star Citizen, they went like a year without a patch. And a lot of people at that time were like, this game's not getting updated. There's no communication from the developers. Did they just take our money and run? And that is when a lot of the Star Citizen as a scam perception came from. And it's just kind of hung around because people will read old articles and just adopt that opinion, not take a critical look into things, and just go on with their lives.
Well, you have to take into account that people hate changing their minds, right? When they have
Yeah.
an opinion about something, it's usually locked in until they're shown like overwhelming evidence, and even then, they'll try to rationalize why they were right all along. So, I'm not surprised a lot of people they heard about that like you said in old articles and then they just stuck with it. And like even if
Yeah.
people are now saying, "Hey, you know what? It's starting to shape up." They're like, "Nah, man, you're just a sellout. You're just blah blah blah." And it's like in a sense, it's cringe of them, but also at the same time, I can't blame someone for not being aware of the intricacies and the status of every single fucking video game in the industry, right? I know Star Citizen is a special case, right? But ultimately, I think in the end, the grander public will see what it is when it fully releases, right? And until then, I don't think it really matters how much of a scam they think it is. Those people
I
specifically.
agree. I tend to tell quite a few people about Star Citizen when, and just in conversation. I yap about it a lot. It's like my favorite hobby. Um, and a common response that I get when I'm like, have you heard about Star Citizen? Typically what they say is something along the lines of, isn't that Kickstarter project from like 5 years ago? And I'm like, no.
Yes, yes.
And and I feel like anybody that holds the opinion that Star Citizen is a scam today read a Kotaku article about the $42,000 Legatus pack like in 2018 and just never looked again. And I think that's kind of, they wrote it off as a scam, like, oh, $42,000 for a game that's in alpha. I was like, well, there's a lot more to that story, but they never bothered to. The articles never include the rest of the story. Like, you have to spend $10,000 on the game to even see the option to buy that pack, or that the players asked for the Legatus pack. That Legatus pack is only there because players asked for it. They specifically requested a pack that contained every ship in the game. CIG did not just decide to do that. That was requested by the players. And so on and so on. Moving on. Or did you have anything to say to that one drop?
Nope.
Okay. The last one in this cluster from Zoe. Can you explain how the game has been in alpha for over a decade with such a high crowdfunding amount? And I think the answer to that is because this game is a trailblazer, fundamentally. They are full steam ahead and creating technologies that did not exist for video games. Server meshing and kind of the iteration that Star Citizen uses it in did not exist. Like, other games had server meshing, but it didn't function as it does in SC. And just the scale, the fidelity, all of that stuff, it's never been done before in a video game to this degree. And I think people believe in the vision. And when you have a dedicated group of very rich people that believe in your vision, they'll typically wait as long as you ask them to. And especially if it's continuously making progress, which since 3.0, CIG has done a overall very good job at making consistent progress. They have not always been perfect at it. They've been really good at it since 4.0, but they've always been making progress, which I think helps a lot. And it helps that the ships are cool. Anything about that from you two? Cool.
No, I do. I just want to give one drop like an opportunity to say something about
I
it.
gotta see it again. Holy shit! Heard it all. And the question:
can you explain how the game has been in alpha for over a decade with such a high crowdfund?
I mean, most MMOs are like right now about $1 billion to $3 billion to make. Like actual big MMOs, like Rockstar, they spent almost $4 for the past 10 years. Cyberpunk was around 2. Like, it cost a lot of money to make them to begin with, and especially MMOs, because Red Crimson Desert, where the hell it is, that was originally originally Pearl Abyss's sequel to BDO, Black Desert Online, and then they changed it to a first-person game because they were having issues getting networks set up, and they decided to not go forward with doing an MMO. So it takes a very long time, and it causes a lot of decisions and headway and money to just make it and then make the features work properly in it. Along with, they've made everything that's in Star Citizen as a system behind it is entirely from scratch. They're not using like Unreal Engine 5, which is plug and play. They're not using Frostbite. They're not using another engine that exists. They made this entirely from scratch from day one, and it's been changed 9 or 10 times now. Plus, they've come up with their own system for making planets and stuff like that. So it's the technology side of it that's what's really holding them back.
I will point out, they didn't start from scratch day one. They started with CryEngine.
Right, and then they eventually left it.
Well, they never. It went over to Lumberyard, which is still a CryEngine fork, but kind of what it's been since is it's kind of a Ship of Theseus issue where they have gone through and replaced every part of the engine. So now it's completely bespoke.
Yes.
Star Engine is not you can't call it CryEngine anymore. There is no
No.
CryEngine left in there.
No, that's what I was trying to say.
Sure. Yeah. Totally right. I would agree. Anything, Corey?
My perspective on that is that Star Citizen scratches the right itch for the rightisms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there is Star Citizen, even without being a super advanced game or anything, it's one of those games that has a uniqueness to it, right? You cannot do in other games what you can do in Star Citizen unless you separate those experiences in different games, right? I can't have an FPS shooter that lets me fly spaceships. I can't have a spaceship game that gives me the same amount of tactile feeling whenever I leave the ship. I think it's that specificness and that uniqueness that makes it interesting. And also, I think people genuinely enjoy the fact that it's under development and it keeps on getting better, right? Everyone gets so excited about every single patch, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
last year was almost overwhelming because a patch a month meant that there was always something in a news cycle for Star Citizen, and you couldn't play anything else because there was always something
Right.
to catch up on. Like, oh shit, there's an event. Oh
Yeah.
shit, there's a new activity. Oh, we got to do this. Oh, we got to do that. Right. This year,
Yeah.
I'm very pleased with the 2 month cadence. I think this is way better. And also, it's probably like a huge relief for the development team.
Oh yeah.
And it means that the patches are a lot more full. Like 4.8, it's chock full of little things, right? There's so many things I won't list them because I don't remember them by heart, and also
Yeah.
like I want to be
There's a
done
lot.
soon. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Star Citizen is it's a unique situation. I think it's probably even more popular and more enjoyable in development than if it was a fully released game. Because if it was a fully released game, we'd be like, okay, the game's dead now, but maybe the next patch going to be good, and then you're kind of hopeful. But now it always feels like it's exciting. There's always something exciting going on. There's always a drama happening or something. That's my view on it. I think that's why, right? Even when the game was not even a game, people were just having so much fun jumping in voice chats and talking about how they dream of that game being, right?
Yeah. Theory crafting was its own game loop for quite a while,
Yeah.
and there's something to be said about that. So awesome. Guinea Pig asks, do you think sentiment towards Wicklow will change once CIG adds player shops?
Kill Wicklow. Hang him from the tallest branch in Orison.
Freaking
Akoree?
Xeno threat representative over here, right? I don't hate Wicklow, but it's mostly because I haven't interacted with Wicklow a lot. Though obviously when I turn in like stuff for a Nicty and that shit doesn't work, it drives me completely crazy. But I know it's a bug and it's not how the feature is meant to work. And also I'm sure they're going to keep improving Wicklow until it becomes something better. I don't know if people's feelings about him are going to change though, but I think it's fine as a side progression system.
Yeah. I I think that people don't hate Wicklow. People hate that the fact that Wicklow doesn't work way too much of the time. I think that's the problem is people add people go and get their Wicklow Idris, and then Wicklow is just like, I don't see any stuff.
Right.
I never came down the freight elevator. And you're like, bro, what?
I mean, initially the
uh,
RNG was terrible as well, right? I think they've improved it a lot,
the
but
R
yeah,
they got rid of it.
they got
There
rid
is
of it.
no
Yeah,
RNG.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The RNG was scrapped. Absolutely.
The RNG was garbage. I'm so happy they made a quick change on that. You, and I think that the sentiment towards Wicklow will improve once he works consistently. because the whole purpose of Wicklow was a prerequisite to crafting. It was a precursor to crafting and a precursor to crafting ships. An ability for us to give stuff and get thing before they actually added crafting and stuff to the game. And I think that is a noble cause. It just didn't really work because it's a little bit too much effort for something that could be lost in a random wipe that you find out 48 hours prior to the patch. And all of that stuff is it makes Wicklow kind of a hard pill to swallow. I think in a 1.0 world where Wicklow works 100% of the time and everything that you get is permanent, people aren't going to mind Wicklow. I don't think people are going to mind him at all. I don't think that really has anything to do with player shops. But I know a lot of people are excited for player shops. I'm excited.
My sentiment doesn't change.
Fair enough. Isidon asked, when do you think the drone system will be finished? I have a simple answer.
We don't know.
No one knows.
We don't. We
Whenever
hope
they
soon. We hope soon.
Whenever they release the Pioneer, will be the start of drone tech.
Well, they have to have drone tech for base building, right? For the initial implementation of base building.
No, they don't. No, they don't necessarily need it because we have the little, the push-ons we can use.
They said that they did.
Oh, they did say?
No,
They-
in the last Star Citizen Live, they talked about it. Even the little Gravlev push base building module that you'll get at first, that's got two little or a little deployable drone that you fly around and you build your bases from, which I think is a great way to do a base building menu. By the way, give it a lore reason. So they have to have drones for that. I think that's pretty simple of an implementation.
I think it's funny because it's like drones in any other games would be extremely simple to implement, right? They're like,
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of games that have drones. Like StarCraft 1 had drones.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, but
it's the fact that I know they made it needlessly complex, right? It's
well,
not just a
there's
thing. Sorry,
they're
go
trying
on.
to make one type of drone core tech, so to make different versions of it because you have the Vulcan, base building, Nautilus, and then I think there's gonna be a couple more ships they're going to build into using drones, and they're trying to keep one. They're probably trying to keep one core tech of code to do all those things, but implement. Go and find this item, pick it up, and bring it back. Because for Nautilus, if you're in UEE space and you drop mines, you're legally required to go pick them up, where you can be fined, X amount of money whenever they decide to implement that. But that's in the lore part of it, of course. So don't know if it'll actually do it, but you have retrievals to go pick up mines if they're not used.
Yeah.
So they're probably trying to do one core tech of, hey, this is what you do. We will add on to what you are, and then you will be able to do that thing for that drone.
Dragon Slayer asked, what is everyone's favorite food to eat in game? And what kind of food are you looking forward to? For me, I actually have a consistent food that I always buy at the start of every wipe. I typically bring with me and eat Synergy and Bacon Club sandwiches. That is my food that I eat in game. That is my character's favorite food. I do that all the time. I'm very excited for pizza to be finally added. The pizza joints to function, or tacos. I love tacos, but the pizza is what I'm looking forward to. Akoree, favorite food. What are you looking forward to?
I'm very fond of the burrito.
What flavor burrito? What do you get?
Oh my god, I get whatever my character ends up picking up. I'll be honest.
I like the citrus beef one. Citrus beef, I feel like would be a good flavor for a burrito.
Yeah.
I need
Oh yeah, for real.
Need a
What
Cruise Lux. Cruise Lux.
You're a Cruise Lux
Lemon
degenerate.
lime. Whoa.
Lemon lime, bro. It's
So-
sweet
so-
and spicy.
You know what? Ligma.
Mid-
And usually the grilled steak candy bar things or
Hell
the
yeah.
meat chunks from wherever I can find them at.
Just random box in a bunker that's probably sat there for like 200 years.
Oh, you know
Hey, they're aged. It's aged meat, Vince. It's got to be better, a little more tender.
the larvas in the pyro station.
Oh, dude, that's so
Mm.
gross.
I love them. I love them so much.
Oh god.
Gross.
All right. Uh from from Guardian, where do you think the salvage game loop is going to be utilized in the future? Considering we've gotten most salvage ships and have seen salvage become less popular and less needed. So I think of like what is salvage's use going to be in the future? I would say crafting. I think particularly on the crafting of ships, RMC is probably going to be super important. What do you guys think?
Clean up after a battle.
Well, like what? But like you could salvage, right? And you get the RMC, the CMAT. What do you think we're going to be doing with that? I think like base building and ship crafting.
Repairing at the dry docks.
Repairing. I think construction materials by definition, base building.
Oh,
You're going to be using a lot of CMAT, probably titanium, aluminum
You
when you're
will
building
be.
your bases. That's what I don't know.
I'll be fixing all the dry dock problems.
I
Yeah,
mean,
fair enough.
yeah, I didn't think about base building for it. I assumed it would be minables, but it would make sense that we could use some of the ships to create some of the prefabs. Some of the ships, I mean, some of the ship materials. But yeah, I do think that whenever shipbuilding comes into play, it will immediately jump to being one of the more profitable materials to go gather. And I hope that there comes a point where you're kind of starving for destroyed ships to go scavenge, right? I really wish that like not scavengers, but
Salvage.
salvagers, right? I really hope that salvagers are like, oh, you guys are having a combat event. Can we show up in the reclaimer? Because I really want to just nab everything that's there because it's super valuable, right? But
Is
now,
that in 4.8 to do the onboard repair? Like if you land in an Idris and you want to repair your fighter, you need RMC on the cargo grade of the Idris. So you actually do like RMC and I assume like you could buy RMC in the shops and just preload it. But if you're like out in the field in an extended fight or like in between fights and you don't want to return to port, you could theoretically have like a vulture somewhere or something go and scrape a bunch of ships and restock your capitals with some RMC. So I do think that's I don't think that's gonna be one of those things that is gonna happen all that often. Considering you can just buy and preload RMC, I don't think it's gonna. People are not gonna salvage it. They're gonna just buy it. But I think in the future, if CIG can expand that game loop properly, it would be pretty useful.
I hope it becomes very like there's not. I hope there's not a lot of them at station, or that they're super expensive to buy from NPCs. Because I really wish that people would be going to do salvage more.
Yeah, 100%.
Click on that.
So second to last question, and this one is a easy one. Momo, who we have not seen in a little while, he has been dealing with the RL, but he appears to be making a return. Howdy, Momo. He asked, "How has everyone been?" Akoree, how have you been?
They're doing great. I'll be honest.
Stuff's been going pretty well.
Yeah.
Making videos, having fun, being French and Canadian at the same time. Somehow.
Oui.
Does Akoree still hate you? Yes, he does.
No, yes, absolutely.
One drop. How you doing?
Busy.
Busy.
Stressed.
Busy. He's doing a lot of shit. I think these have been going great. Personally, I've been doing pretty good. The org is better than it's ever been, in the best state it's ever been. The game is in one of the best states it's ever been. I think this is a good times we're in right now, and I feel privileged to know that we're in the good times, because often you don't realize you're in the good times until they're gone. But we're in the good times now, I think, and I'm actually appreciating it while it is here.
Real.
Last question from Zunovan. With a lot of new ships coming in for DefenseCon, along with our already existing ships that are being revamped, what are we looking for? What are we looking at for future ship operations, as well as new? Let me try and understand this. What are we looking for? Future ship operations, as well as how new events will fit into how NS does them. So I guess what he's saying is, and Zunovan, please feel free to correct me, but with all the new ships that are being revamped and added, how are we going to add them and implement them into our events? Like, we've been planning TSG for a while, and there are several new ships, Tiburon, prime example, that could potentially change how we run these events. I guess it's a one-drop question. Are you shifting your plans for ships like the Tiburon and the
I
Aries?
saw him typing. I'm waiting for it to come through.
Fair
'Cause
enough.
it's a two-part answer.
Okay.
Okay.
It's what I said.
So, with the whole ship stuff, I'm going to be revamping all of the combat certifications that I run, and then we will probably end up revamping a few of the old documents. As for how they fit in, it's going to be trial and error. With that also being said, I'll be looking at a little bit of future proofing with Navy stuff and how that's going to function in the future for larger events that I have planned. For the events that are hardcore, they'll remain as hardcore, and I'll probably be a little more true to what they're supposed to be. For the non-hardcore events, that's kind of whatever. We do have some fun events planned for the TSG. Some that are just going to be fun and stupid, and then we have a few that are going to be locked to certain groups will be doing stuff. It really just depends on how much time I have and can allocate before I turn into I'm out of gas to play video game for a little bit.
Yeah, that really it's I don't think these new ships really change the calculus a whole lot as to what we're doing with these events. I think our plans kind of stay valid. And Zunovan, I totally understand what you were doing there, that you were setting up for, oh, by the way, I have an Ironclad Assault, because that's what everyone does. You and 14 others. All right. we have more Ironclad Assaults than we have people to crew them. Don't you worry. But yeah. All right. Well, I don't think that could have been timed a whole lot better. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us at the first episode of the Follow Your Light podcast. I hope you all had fun and enjoyed asking your questions and having them answered.